Did I scare you? Today on Treadmill Thoughts, by the way, hey guys, Ruth Racher, hope you're having a fantastic day. And today on Treadmill Thoughts, we're going to talk about ghost jobs. So I put in for, a couple calls today, right? I have out at this point over a dozen applications to local places, and I call them all back because I have this dumb thing I do where I respect the time of the company when they list for a job, and I call them back and I introduce myself to the manager, the guy I'm going to be working under if I get hired there. It's this little basic thing called respect, which, it's a rarity in the 21st century, I know, but I have this dumb idea that I should be respectful to someone even if I don't even have the job. I shouldn't, But yeah, it's fine. I respect your fellow human beings, right? Fuck me, right? So I call up all these places. One of the places I was looking at, they transferred some guy from out of state who was moving down here. It's like, okay, that's fair. He's already worked with the company. That happens. You go from one location to another. Makes sense. A couple other places are like, yeah, we're looking at interviews now. We'll get back to you, blah, 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 blah. The usual corpo speak of just keep waiting, right? That's fine. I'm used to that. That's how they operate. That's the whole point of the bureaucracy. And you get a lot of applications, I'm sure, for these places, right? Especially the nicer places that people want to work at that don't treat you like dog shit. It's like, you're going to get a lot of applications when you have any opening at all there. But one store in particular, I called them up, and here's the fucked up part, right? So I call them, and I'm like, hey, what are we doing here? I put an application like a week ago, and I introduced myself. I'm nice. I give them my name and all that, talking to the manager, and they're like, oh yeah, that's, just whatever. And I won't say the name of the store out of respect to them. Still respecting them, even though they're basically fucking people over. But the thing they told me was like, yeah, we're always taking applications, but that, so basically they put a listing up for something, and they put up a ghost job. They put up a listing for something that doesn't actually exist. They're not actually hiring for this position. The reason for this, though, right, it's not exactly the company's fault. It's the fault of, I'll give you three guesses. Think hard about this. Who do you think fucks up employment? Who do you think fucks up everything in this country? That's right, it's the goddamn politicians. Specifically the right-wing politicians. They're the ones that hate welfare and unemployment, and any social program, anything that helps you as a poor person, they hate it, right? Democrats, they at least hide the fact they hate you and they think you're a peasant. You might get one or two out of the entire bunch. You got maybe a Bernie Sanders, or I hesitate to even call Andrew Yang a Democrat. Yeah, he was on a Democratic ticket, but his ideas are way better than what the Democrats were talking about. He's way better on policy. That's why they had to rig the election against him and not let him actually participate in the debates correctly. And they literally cut his mic. Go ahead, go look for the footage. It's the thing. You can literally hear them say on a hot mic, they say, cut his mic. And then they cut his mic. Only him, though. That only malfunctioned for just him during that debate. Anyway, back to the ghost jobs thing. So basically what happened was, back in the day, people were on unemployment and they were looking for jobs, but the unemployment office had this policy where, you have to look for a certain amount of jobs and all this. This is why unemployment fucking blows. They don't just help you. You have to actually prove that you're actively looking for work. So it's like, did you try? Did you do it? Basically, the government's trying to parent you as if you're not a grown human being who is actually looking for work and doesn't want to sit on the government dime all the time. Now, there are some people who do that, and to those people I say, yikes. I don't want to work any more than you do, but we're both grown adults here. Or if you're not going to work and you're just going to collect unemployment, I better see your ass at a soup kitchen, helping out, Simple. But yeah, they basically, what had happened was they sued the state, right? So they got this thing where it's like, look, I'm unemployed. I have been looking for jobs. There are just no jobs because nobody's hiring, right? It's not my fault the companies aren't hiring. So basically, instead of actually change the criteria for unemployment and try to be lenient on poor people, they passed the buck. They said, no, there's nothing wrong with our unemployment system. There's nothing wrong with the government having restrictions on who they help. Okay, sure. So instead of saving themselves, right, instead of self-reflection, they passed the buck and said, no, the corporations need to post jobs. They need to always be taking applications so that people can apply, even if the job doesn't exist, so that we can check off a box on our unemployment forms and keep giving this guy unemployment. Yeah, it makes sense, right? It's like, But of course, that's what led to ghost jobs, right? This is where ghost jobs were invented. The idea that you can apply to a job that doesn't actually exist, right? It's just there to meet a quota, to check a box, right? Stupid fucking shit. Stupid shit that doesn't need to be. And, you know, it's one thing if it's like, okay, I'm looking for a job and it's like a high-paying job and there's multiple rounds. I mean, multiple rounds in are stupid anyway. But if it's like an office job that's salaried and has to be... This is an hourly fucking position at a local fucking store, you know? Like, not local like a local business. They are a chain, but again, nearby is what I mean when I say local. Yeah, it just... I look at that and I'm like, why? Why are we doing ghost jobs? Why is this the thing, right? Here's the real kicker, right? Is that the government actually cared if you were employed or doing something useful to society? If they actually cared about that, unemployment wouldn't even exist. There would just be a thing that has mandated government jobs that are like, yeah, here, we need people to do this. We need somebody to go, you know, feed the homeless or whatever. Or we need somebody to walk around picking up all the trash in the park all day long. Okay, cool. Again, if you're unemployed and you're collecting unemployment, right, then you have no excuse because you go all day like, okay, you're looking for jobs, cool, do that. But then with the rest of your time, just go volunteer somewhere, you know? I am sure you can carpool with somebody to a soup kitchen and go help out over there if they need volunteers. Like, go help somebody move, go help somebody fucking, I don't know, walk your neighbor's dog, something, you know? Be part of a community, form a community. Don't just wait for corporations to start hiring because they're not going to, right? This is a simple equation that people don't understand. This is why universal basic income is not only a good policy, it's mandatory, it's necessary, it's going to happen at some point because automation's coming, guys. We had the Industrial Revolution, which displaced a bunch of people. Now we're getting the automation revolution. And the automation revolution is even worse because now they can get robots to do all the jobs. You really think they're going to keep teenagers around in McDonald's at these low-paying jobs? Or, and again, not to disparage anybody, there are people that work full-time, full-ass grown adults like me that work at food places. I love you all to death. I do. Retail food, you guys have my utmost respect. Anybody that's on the lower end of stuff like that, like service industry, God, it's a pain in the ass. I've been there. But yeah, do you really think they're going to keep those jobs? No, they're going to build a robot that can that can drop the fries, that can flip the burger, and then the burger's going to be just as shit as it was before, but it's going to cost 5 times as much, and corporate's going to pocket the money because the robot doesn't get sick, the robot doesn't need pay, nothing. Once you have the robot set up, all you need to pay is maintenance cost and electricity. That's really all that's required. So you're going to spend like exponentially less, even if it's a big investment at first. Even if the robot costs as much as 1 year of a salaried worker, but if it can do the job of 3 workers, you're going to get replaced, right? So imagine this. Imagine the whole world as like one single town, right? And in this town, there are 100 people, and there are 100 jobs, okay? Every single person has a job. All 100 of these people are employed in all 100 of these positions. Simple math. Follow me here. What happens when you add 1 person to that equation? Well, somebody's going to be homeless. Why? There are only 100 jobs, no more. They are finite. They're finite. So you're going to end up with somebody who doesn't have a job. Well, what do you do with the guy who doesn't have a job? Well, when it's only one guy, that's 1% of your population. If only 1% of your population is having the issue of not having a job, you can afford to take some excess from society and give it to that person. And say, okay, well, since you don't have a job and there's nowhere for you to go, here's unemployment check because you're unemployed. Now increase the population year on year and see what happens. You get more people than there are jobs. That's why they're always talking about job creation and economic growth and all this bullshit that the economists come up with. Job growth. Nobody wants a job. People want things to do, but they don't want a job. Do you really think anybody would want to work at a fucking department store? Do you really think anybody's happy there? No, I mean, the only people who are actually happy in some sadistic way are managers. They're the only ones because they get a little bit of power. Because they can compare themselves to the hourly worker and say, I'm salaried, I'm different, I'm better than them, I'm paid more than them, and I am king, right? That's what they get off on, right? It's a psychological thing, right? But yeah, that's ghost jobs in a nutshell, guys, is jobs that don't exist. So we have people trying to get jobs, right? Applying to jobs that don't actually exist. And then we're also always trying, and by we, I mean the shitty fucking government that we always end up with, which is the Republicans always fuck everything up. And then when the Democrats get in, they don't really do much either, but at least they maintain and they try to reverse some of the things. But the only reason they even do that is because they get a bunch of pressure from their base. Famously in the 60s with the whole civil rights thing, the only reason it was even signed in the first place, JFK was kind of lukewarm on the idea, but it was a very dangerous idea at the time because it was like, well, if you do that, then you alienate voters in the South, so then you might lose, your party might be deemed shitty to those guys and whatever, guys that weren't going to vote for you anyway. But the point being is it was all political bullshit. And the only reason it ever got signed, the only reason it ever happened in the first place was because there were enough people locally, not just like, oh, the Million Man March on it. Yeah, it's great that happened, but you also had white people crossing the line and going and joining the black people and saying, yeah, this is unfair, right? As you've had for centuries up to that point. They might have been in a smaller amount, but there were always, since the beginning of the slave trade, there were always abolitionists. There was always one guy that was like, that's fucked up, don't do that, right? There was at least one guy every time that was like, let's not do that. Yeah, but that's what it is. You have to put pressure on your government to actually get anything done. You have to scare the shit out of them, right? And I'm not talking, well, if you don't do it, then I won't vote for you. That doesn't scare them one bit. Why? They're incumbents. They win anyway. They have die-hard fans. They're in uncontested seats. You think a guy in New York is scared of... It's a fucking blue state. It's a blue state. Hello? California much? Like, you're not going to get anything red from that state because of the way our political system works. But no, if you want to get rid of things like ghost jobs, you want to get rid of employment, to be honest with you, and actually get on to something that makes sense, which is sharing the wealth equally and saying universal basic income, work, don't work, but here's your bare minimum, food, water, shelter, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Okay, cool. You can work or not. Honestly, if I had the money, after I pay my bills and I have a little bit left over, I'd be donating it, dude. I'd be giving it away. And that's just where we're at. That's where we're at right now. So, back on the old grindstone. I got a couple more calls to make this week, and more applications to fill out. We'll get there eventually, boys. We'll get there eventually. Coming up on 2 months being out of work, but I mean, really just 6 weeks because I kind of took 2 weeks off where I was like, fuck it, I'm taking a vacation. And I just didn't do anything. But yeah, we've been back at it. So, go to the gym, apply to some jobs, prepare for the inevitable economic collapse of this country because it's about to happen. And yeah, welcome to the revolution, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.